Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, I'm going to tell you two defensive players on the Commanders roster that could be secret weapons for the Commanders defense that kind of come out of nowhere this year to be big-time contributors for this defense in 2025. But before we get into the content today, we want to win or beat the record here on the Commanders Report for the most added subscribers on a video in channel history. So in the month of May, the most new subscribers we have gained from any video we have ever done on this channel is 96 new subscribers. We're trying to beat that record today and get to 100 new subscribers today and get to triple digits for the first time ever in the month of May. New viewers, we are really counting on you guys. The people that are already subscribed can't get us to this number. It's got to be the new people that haven't clicked that subscribe button yet. So if you're new to this channel and you want free, informative Commanders content every single day, I welcome you guys to click that subscribe button and join our family today. So first up here, before we get into the players that I think could be secret weapons, I want to give you guys a little bit of a lesson in Dan Quinn ease, all right, and kind of the defense that he likes to run. And this is kind of the style defense that he's liked to run ever since his Dallas days after he got fired from the Atlanta Falcons, and he kind of took stock in kind of what the league was doing and kind of modernized his classic Seattle 3 defense with what kind of the new NFL defensive coordinators were doing. So he bases out of 4-2-5, so that's nickel, okay? So he has 4 down linemen with 2 off-ball linebackers and 5 DBs. That's what this defense bases out of, okay? And nickel is certainly something with all the speed in the National Football League, all the 11 personnel, which means 3 receivers on the field that NFL teams are running nowadays. You know, the Commanders want to be able to match that speed, and they kind of base out of this 4-2-5 kind of alignment. And Quinn also likes to use a bandit safety, which is a third safety. And, you know, the alignments when they go to this bandit look, and this goes back to the Cowboys days with like J-Ron Kearse, if you remember him. He was their third safety that they used in this bandit role, which is kind of like a hybrid linebacker / safety that roams around the middle of the defense. When they're in that bandit package, they got 4 down linemen, they take an off-ball linebacker off the field, and they have 6 DBs. So they've got 3 corners, okay, and then they've got those 3 safeties on the field. And you see a bunch of kind of new school defensive coordinators around the league use this style of formation. Okay, like the Patriots use it a lot. Brian Flores pretty much bases out of this shit. All right, like this is the stuff that, you know, all the modern NFL defensive minds are running in the National Football League. So the fact that the Commanders have one of those guys, it's good news if you're a Commanders fan. And what that bandit safety's role is to essentially replace that linebacker's role in the middle of the defense. So you need somebody that's got a little bit more size to him, somebody that's got the athleticism to play out in coverage and the coverage ability and the instincts to be able to be a menace in the middle of the field. But you also have to have some of those linebacker type traits in order to fill this role effectively. This is why Jeremy Chinn was so good in this defense, in my opinion, because he was 220 pounds and he could run like a deer. He was a perfect bandit safety for this defense here with Dan Quinn. And now that he's gone, I don't know necessarily if they have a guy of his caliber anymore, or maybe not that most people are aware of, but it certainly seems like some of the guys that they've drafted in the past that are kind of Jeremy Chinn clones could be next up to fill this role in this Dan Quinn defense. But last year, when they went to this bandit look with Jeremy Chinn playing that bandit role as kind of like a hybrid linebacker, they had to bring another safety on the field. And in those situations, the Commanders would bring in Percy Butler to go along with Quan Martin in the secondary for the Washington Commanders. But the problem is Percy Butler was terrible last year. 41.3 PFF grade for him last year. That was last among NFL safeties that were eligible for PFF grading last year. So I do think that the Commanders need to upgrade this position, and, you know, losing Jeremy Chinn already puts this team behind the 8 ball in terms of getting better when it comes to their safety groupings. And, you know, I do think that if they can get better at third safety, they should, all right? This is why I kind of looked at safeties in the NFL draft, for example, throughout our draft coverage on this channel, is because I think that this team can afford to upgrade at this position. And right now, I think the 2 bona fide starters in this group are Quan Martin and Will Harris. These two players will have some sort of role in the defense on a fairly regular basis. They like Will Harris a lot and his versatility, his ability to be a menace in a versatile type of role that he showed last year in the New Orleans Saints defense, but neither of them is Jeremy Chinn level big. Like, none of them is over 210 pounds, let alone the 220 that Jeremy Chinn brought to the table. So when I look at who's going to be that third safety this year, there's some targets here. There's some options that are in-house. Percy Butler was of course your option last year, but if you put Percy Butler back in that role, that means Will Harris, who's 205 pounds, that's not tiny, but that's not like linebacker, a hybrid linebacker type of big. So I would have concerns about that if Percy Butler is filling this role again. But then you got two guys that you drafted last year, Dominique Hampton and Tyler Owens. And we'll talk a little bit about Robert McDaniel here in just a second out of Jackson State. But we'll start with Dominique Hampton because I think he could be a legit secret weapon for this defense this year. All right, he is a big body, 220 pounds, and this guy is an athletic freak. This is why Adam Peters drafted this guy in the NFL draft last year, okay? It's because of the high relative athletic score. He had an elite 40-yard dash time for the position at 4.51. He's got elite size. He's put on more weight since he's joined the Washington Commanders as well. And when you compare him to Jeremy Chinn, the guy that was the bandit safety in this defense last year, very similar physical profiles. Both are 220 pounds. Both had really good 40-yard dash times, all those different things. So, Hampton was always more of a raw prospect that had a great physical skill set. And he spent most of his time on the bench last year for the Washington Commanders, but perhaps they expect him to take on this role this season after a year of development and another offseason to develop within this defense. I could certainly see that being the case, especially given his athletic profile. But another athletic freak here to keep your eye on as a potential bandit safety in this defense is Tyler Owens, okay? This was somebody that was drafted last year out of Texas Tech, and like Jeremy Chinn, he had a perfect 10 out of 10 relative athletic score. So you're looking at two guys here that are athletic freaks, and they are, he weighed in at around 216 last year at the East-West Shrine Bowl, but he's lost a little bit of weight since then. He's sitting at around 212 now, but that's still more than big enough to play that bandit safety role. He ran a 4.35 as a safety at that size. That is like nick him and worry crazy level athleticism right there. Plus, he's got over 33-inch arms as a safety. So this is the type of guy here that did get on the field a little bit last year. Obviously, kind of like Dominique Hampton, he came into last season as kind of a raw prospect that needed development. But if either one of these two guys can develop, whether it's Hampton or whether it's Tyler Owens in year two, you're looking at a legit replacement for Jeremy Chinn that's on a very cheap, affordable rookie contract that could completely change the dynamic of the Washington Commanders defense this year. Then another guy that could be a secret weapon this year is Robert McDaniel out of Jackson State. He was a star defensive player for Jackson State over the last several seasons, and what I love about him is his versatility. All right, he can play safety, he can play slot corner, he can play linebacker, he can even play edge rusher. He lined up quite a bit at edge rusher last year as a DB, and he was winning. All right, like this guy's got some crazy bend and speed, and he's got some great instincts. So for a defense that likes to get creative with the way they attack pass NFL quarterbacks, all right, we know Dan Quinn and Joe Whitt Jr., they love to send out, different styles of blitzes and stunts and games and simulated pressures and do all the stuff that the modern defensive coordinators here in the NFL are doing. This is the type of weapon that you can deploy in your defense from any sort of alignment. You can even line them up at edge if you want and do some really fun, creative stuff with a guy like this, and you got him as a UDFA. I mean, and just like the other guys that we talked about, Owens and Hampton, Robert McDaniel's relative athletic score is excellent as well. It's over a 9 as well. So he is another athletic freak that you are interjecting into this defense. And the thing about these three guys, Hampton, Owens, and McDaniels, Nobody knows their names, all right? Nobody sees these guys coming, all right? Which is something that makes me very, very excited about what they're potentially going to bring to the table for the Commanders defense this year, because really Dan Quinn's calling card are these three safety packages, and these three guys are athletic freaks that do a bunch of different things for your defense. So I'm really excited to see how these guys are going to develop once we get these guys in for OTAs, once we get them in for training camp. I think that at least maybe one or maybe two of these guys between Hampton, Owens, and McDaniel is really going to make a name for themselves in the Commanders defense this year, and I can't wait to see them blossom into the players I believe they have the capability of becoming. So let me know down there in the comments section, who will be the breakout player for the Commanders defense this year? Will it be Jerzon Newton? Will it be somebody else? Will it be Mike Samerstill? Will it be Trey Amos? Will it be one of the guys we talked about today? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because if you love in-depth, informative Commanders videos like this one and you want them for free on the YouTube platform every single day, there's no better place to get that information and that kind of content than right here with the Commanders Report.